Welcome back to ACCFI Presents. My name is Nina Means, Head Director for Austin Community College Fashion Incubator, and we are here with Angie Ramirez, Head of Development for Stitch Texas. So, Angie, we know that kind of the face of apparel manufacturing is shifting. At the end of our conversation last week, you had talked about really how, your team really is, it's a group of product engineers. I mean, you guys are really building ideas from the ground up. You also mentioned that Stitch Texas has kind of gone through some evolution in terms of offering and what part of the process you guys are serving. So product development to production and back again. Can you tell me a little bit about what that looked like for you guys and what were kind of those decision points that changed your approach to what's needed here locally?
Absolutely. So we were born initially from development. We expanded for about 2 years with a production department. That was for a number of reasons to try to offer at least some of our clients some in-house production. We were never going to be able to produce all of the things that we develop, but for some of them to give them that option. Also, we talked about before, one of the tenets that we were really born out of was to give people a good, secure, safe place to practice their skills and support themselves from those skills. And so production stitchers is a big part of that. Eventually we decided to go back to really what our roots are, to what our strength is, which is development. And it was for a number of different reasons. Just like all of our clients, at the end of the day, Stitch Texas is, we are a business, and just like our clients have to do, just like the factories we work with, we have to do, we all have to make decisions about, what part of the work that you do is time well spent in terms of profitability. And production stitching is just, the amount of respect I had before we had our own production department is 20-fold after doing it ourselves. It's just, it's difficult. One of the things when we first started talking to the city of Austin about where the efforts could be put in place was that, one of the most expensive things you will ever have to do is train a stitcher. It's a very, for somebody who doesn't already come in with that skill, it's a very expensive thing to do. It's one thing to, when you're just doing development, you need fewer stitchers. So, we're still always looking for sample stitchers that have a ton of experience before they come in here, right? But, you're talking about production floor, you're talking about a lot of stitchers, and you need to either have a big pool of people that are experienced that you can hire from, or you have to train up, which is just so difficult. And then add on top of that, production stitching to some extent is a little bit of a real estate game. It takes space. These cutting tables are really big. The footprint of a production floor of machines is big. And as we know, Austin is a painful place when you're having to pay, for every square foot. And also to really, you have to think about not only what's profitable for your company, but also what makes your people happy, what they like to work on, what your competencies are. And that was always development. And we really enjoy so much being able to work with so many different types of people on so many types of projects. And we can do that in development. And it was more important, this was all born from helping people with their ideas and their product get to market, and also help to feed projects that are ready to go right into a factory so that we keep our factories going in the States. but there are going to be projects that are going to have to go overseas for production. And with this influx of people inquiring into our services, and that all have these incredible ideas, you know, I can no longer, I can't in good conscience any longer just say, no, that can't be USA made. We're not having this conversation. Even though, you know, everyone within my organization, that's what our careers have been in. That's what our experience has been in. And so now I'm at least, you know, I'm trying to find, you know, right now I'm working with some other channels, both to help these people in the very entry level understand what the barriers are, and then to try to match them up with some folks that can help them, that do have those direct relationships with overseas factories in a way that we don't, because all our direct relationships with factories are here in the States. And then talk to them about how we can work with them possibly in that development stage to nail down really how are these fits going to work? What are the fabrics, you know? And I'm honestly, I'm surprised how many people I talk to, a lot of them in the scrubs arena, where I say, look, you know, let me give you the best advice I can. Let's talk about some arenas, some avenues that I can steer you towards that can help this keep your costs down, keep this as streamlined as possible. I give them as many options as I can. And I'm surprised how many of them still, you know, really insist, no, we want to work with Stitch Texas. And so then I'm sort of challenged with coming up with a package that's really just the meat of what they really, really need from us, bare minimum, to like really get that in, so that when they start that process of overseas, they're not caught in a constant loop of prototyping, because, we're talking about a lot of people, some of my favorite conversations with incoming clients are the ones where they, it might be 20 minutes into the conversation before I realize what they're talking about, and I really actually enjoy those, because I'm listening, I'm asking questions and I'm listening. And then I go, oh, so you're talking about XYZ. And that might be the first time that anybody with some technical knowledge has actually kind of taken this thought that they had and put it into a concise form, right? And sometimes that leads into us working with them, and sometimes it just leads to me saying, okay, this is the sentence that you need. This is the key point, right? This is the difference. And you're talking about people that are, sometimes they are surgeons, they are maybe engineers, like but they still might not know how to put it in that concise form of, what is it that we are actually doing here?
Yeah.
I would say most of our clients come to us because they're filling a need. We do, I'm sure you have this experience, people that, occasionally you meet somebody that is just a brilliant designer, and they just have an eye for something. And it's so fun to watch, and it's so fun to work with them. And, they're kind of unicorns, right? I mean, they're just sort of magical. They think of things totally different. And we get to work with a handful of those, and it's so fascinating to get inside their brain. But, for every one of those, there's a few hundred people that are not creatively brilliant. They just understand a need really well. They understand a certain person really well. They have a strong voice about something. And then also sometimes it's just that they come from a really strong marketing background, and they can take the same thing, the same sock that you and I have been wearing every day, and put their zhuzh on it, you know, and have a different, you know, a different name for it and a different, you know, voice to it. And I tell people all the time, you know, if you can come up with something really fresh and really new, that's fantastic. But you can also do something that you know, the big corporate brand is doing, and bring to the table that you have a different voice. Bring, you know, that you can sell it to somebody who it's not being sold to, because you have a language of a group of people that you can talk to them in a way that a big brand just can't speak to them. And so when we have, when I talk to a lot of emerging designers, and they have really beautiful ideas, and I ask them what they want to sell them for, and the prices are so low. And that's where it goes into, we're talking, when I was talking about scrubs, is because there's not much I can say to them. You know, I know their price is coming from, this is who they're selling to, this is what they can afford, right? But for a lot of these other people, we're having that conversation about, don't try to compete with these big brands on price. You're gonna lose every time. You need to have something different to bring to the table. And it's not that your designs necessarily have to be different, but your message, can just be different. And I talk to a lot of young people that just can't, they have, and I'm so guilty of this myself, that discomfort with, I can't, I'm not, I wouldn't be able to afford a dress that costs that much. And I wouldn't want to charge my friend that much for a dress.
Yeah.
And I tell them the thing I wish somebody had told me many years ago, which is, give yourself permission to, that your target audience is not necessarily going to be yourself or your family or your friends. It's okay for you. There are plenty of people out there that they are comfortable with that price. They do value your message or your vision. And just because your cousin said they're not going to spend more than $25 on your design does not mean that that's what you have to keep it to. And so, I try to have those conversations first before, to see, are there any options to keep this domestic? Because I think that's where it starts, is, okay, you want to keep this domestic, you want to employ your neighbors and keep them safe and have them taken care of, then let's talk about what you have to offer at a price where you will have a market where you don't have to offshore. But then there's just some of those that, you can't get around it. And then that's, the scrubs is an example of that, but there are many others.
Thanks so much for watching today. Join us back next time for ACCFI Presents.